That guy at the end of the bar is fucking Dalton, man.
Killed the guy once. Ripped his throat right out.
Bullshit.
It wasn't like we didn't know what it was. You know, people think sometimes people talk to you and they're like, you know, Roadhouse, and it's like, yeah, we were all in on the joke. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't know what the movie was that we were making, but we try not to make fun of it, and we try not to wink at it. We try to give it, you know, like anything, any great comedy or any great movie, you play it for real.
In some way, Roadhouse is the most expensive B movie ever made. And that's why it has this crazy cult following. It's kind of insane.
It's sort of romantic, and it's sort of badass, and it's sort of goofy, and it's sort of fun, and it's like the best, worst movie ever made.
It's a very particular kind of movie. It's fun, it's a little happy, and then it kind of blindsides you by actually, you know, making you get involved a little bit.
Did we think for 1 minute that we were going out there to make an Academy Award-winning film? No. Basically, everybody showed up for a movie and a fight broke out. Everybody just got on board, and I'm talking about cast, crew, drivers, everybody. No one was going to allow this movie to fail under any circumstances. And you can't say that about every film out there. A lot of people go for the money. We went for the show.
Honestly, I didn't think it would be as well accepted as it was, but I have a lot of people come up to them, they still love to see the movie. It was well shot, it looked pretty, Patrick Swayze was in great shape, and Kelly looked beautiful, so I mean, great people, it makes a great movie.
You could stay down if you wanted to.
I don't think so.
I think the thing that appealed to me about this was the fact that it was these rugged characters in this different world. It was really was kind of the sensibilities of a Western. You know, so much of it takes place in a saloon, and a bad guy who runs the town, and all of the things that are part of the tradition of Westerns was applied to the movie Roadhouse with all of its characters. So I think I was intrigued by that.
It was like doing, I want to relate to another movie called Tombstone. Very similar. That was 3.5 hours, 4 hours long almost. And the good guys wear a white hat and the bad guys wear the black hats.
I mean, Roadhouse was a morality tale, and it could be likened to any kind of Kurosawa. It was like the Seventh Samurai. It was the Magnificent Seven. It took a lot from those kind of Western style or the Japanese samurai movies, because those were all character driven. So that way it was cool.
But it's really pretty basic. It's like it's like High Noon or one of those things where it's like the bad guys are bad guys and the good guys are good guys, and it's going to take a while, but the good guys are going to win, you know? And everything's going to work out, and the guy's going to get the girl, and, you know, the guy's going to avenge his buddy's death, and the bad guy's going to get it bad.
Well, right away the name Dalton, the Dalton gang, and Garrett was a famous sheriff, and John Wesley Hardin. You know, those names, if you're any kind of a Western fan, you knew something was going on, so I couldn't wait to finish the script. And sure enough, replaced the parking places out front with horse rails, have horses instead of cars. The script, leave it the same, and put cowboy hats and guns on the people, and you have a Western.
You know, what were Westerns? Western was the cattle baron or the land baron who wanted to own everything. And he wanted to keep everybody in town under his thumb. He wanted everybody in town to owe him money or a favor. And he kept his own private little army around to make sure that nobody messed with it. If he wanted it done, they would take care of it. And he also had one big gun. And in Roadhouse, I was the big guy. I was Jimmy Reno. And what Dalton did, which was Patrick Swayze, and of course Sam Elliott, they were the guys that the town went to say, can you save us? Can you come in? Dalton came in, Patrick came in first. He looked at the town, realized it was a total, free-for-all. So he went to his mentor, which was Sam Elliott. And Sam, with Sam's own way, he said, yeah, maybe they'll see you, maybe they won't. And all of a sudden he rolls up on that motorcycle, and about 3 minutes later, he's in a fight. So that's the way it started. And they definitely cleaned up the town, man.
Joel was a magnet. I mean, this guy, he's a phenomenal producer. And you think about the body of work that he has. He really understands the genres that he's working in, and I think he has an eye for talent. Not just, I don't say that because he lifted me up. If you just look across the board of the people that he's worked with and the success that they've had.
The one thing about Joel Silver, all the movies I've done with him, what Joel had that stood out was he had a good eye for certain things in a movie to make it better. Like Bruce Willis jumping off the building, like Bruce Willis on Die Hard 2 fighting on the wing of an aircraft. He had all these things with Mel Gibson. And he knew how to package it. He knew how to get the right actors at the right time.
Well, he had quite a record to work with a producer like this, who just Die Hard, Predator, and Lethal Weapon, huge hits. I mean, he was on the run, man. He was one hit after the other. When we were doing Die Hard, he had this line, you always have to underline the obvious. And it used to stuck in my head. And he was right. So, and what I'm going to tell you, the story I'm going to tell you is there's a fight scene, one of the first fight scenes when the bad guys come into the saloon or the bar, and the guy who was the lead bad guy, I can't remember what his name was or who he was, but I do remember he had a pair of black boots on, and in the toe of the boot is a razor. But you couldn't really see, even though we had an insert, you really couldn't see it that well. And it was Joel that came up with the idea to put that, there's a little glint, like a little twinkle, and we just put a little twinkle on it so people with eyes would go to it.
Sorry, we're closed. Well, what are all these people doing here? Drinking and having a good time. Well, that's why we're here. Yeah. You're too stupid to have a good time.
The guy he's a genius. I mean, really. I mean, if you look at, I did Tales of the Crypt with him as a producer, and I've watched other things that he's been part of. He's very, very smart. And the look of the movie and the casting of the film and the set decoration and the, DP, a lot of that came from Joel.
Joel and I got along very well, and I think Joel was one of the better producers I ever worked with, because he was really a working producer, and he didn't do anything for his own ego or anything. He did it for the better of the film every time. No matter what he said, he always thought it was for the better of the film.
He knew what he wanted, and and I helped him with all the, he didn't know the action naturally, but I helped him with that. You had big barroom fights, you got a lot of people working, so you have to know how to put it together, because a lot of new directors, are kind of tough to work with. He was easy.
I enjoyed working with Rowdy. He was a wonderful guy. He deserved a lot of credit because he was doing his first film, really, first big film for a studio. And I thought he was under tremendous pressure, and I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, Rowdy Harrington was pretty generous with everyone. He would give people a second take. He wanted to know what they wanted to do. So he managed it great. And he always gave people a second or third or fourth take.
He was an actor's director. If you had an idea, he would listen. If you wanted to improvise, that was me. I like to improvise. And he would he said, okay, we'll try it. And if I like it, we'll keep it. If we don't, we'll go back and do it the other way. He was easy to work with, and never was there an angry word from Rowdy. And I love working with him. I wish I could have done some more film with him.
He would listen to you. If he liked what you had to say, he would consider it. And I'd say, okay, I like that. We'll shoot that one. And then you'll give me one that I want. I'll work with you. And he would, but you would have never known that was his second gig.
I liked his presence. I liked that he wasn't suppressive. I liked that he was open. I liked the fact that, he let me kind of add a gregariousness to this character that I thought was kind of fun. And he always made me feel appreciated, and that does a lot for an actor.
He was such a kind and dear person, and he really saw Roadhouse as a sort of tongue-in-cheek Western with a little something for everyone. And that's what he set out to do, and I think that's what he did. And he always made sure the set was an easy, fun place to be. And we had a really good time making the movie.
And Rowdy Harrington was such an easy, great, kind of solid, easygoing guy. He wasn't a screamer. He wasn't like, we need to do this. He was not a teeth gnasher kind of person. He was like, and he said it very clearly to me once. He goes, this is the kind of movie we're doing here. And he was a very much a solid, semi-straight ahead kind of director, which was really good for Patrick, and a great guy.
I mean, the man came in there, he'd done his notes, he knew in his head what he wanted. I mean, if he sat down for more than 30 seconds at a time, he would sit and then he was up. He had to be in the middle of the scene. He had to see it. He wanted more, and he had a way of getting it out of you. He would just reach out there and he would just reach in and pull it out of you. I need this, and I need this. And you wanted to give it to him.
Well, I had done, I was doing television for a long time and directing first unit television. I met Joel Silver in 1987. I went on an interview with John McTiernan, the director, and of all the coordinators in town, they picked me, which was great. And that was my first introduction to Joel. And I did Die Hard 1, which was a terrific experience, and it turned out to be a good movie. A lot of good action. So Joel liked me, and the next movie was Roadhouse. So there I was. He got me to be second unit and coordinator.
Roadhouse was interesting because the director, Rowdy Harrington, had actually been part of my electrical team on some low-budget shows. So I think he must have remembered me from those, and I, of course, remembered him. And he said he was doing this movie, this little kind of low-budget action movie, but it had a great cast. So I, of course, said, yeah, let's go off on this adventure. And, Rowdy directing for his second time, but it was really sort of the first time with a lot of production value things.
With me, I would always go for the actors. I went for actors that could bring the characters alive. And I did the same here with like Ben Gazzara, and Patrick was already in the movie, but anyone I surrounded, like Sam Elliott, I just wanted people that brought something special to each role. Joel Silver and Rowdy, you know, were both very supportive of the actors that I wanted to bring in to make it where each one stood on their own 2 feet.
I'd been doing some movies and got called in for a casting appointment and read through it, and then there was some point at which I had to scream. And Rowdy Harrington said, and then I do this, and I went, ah, and that was it. I got the gig from the scream.
I had driven here from Florida and couldn't afford a hotel room. And the next day, a friend of mine said, I'm going to see this agent. Do you want to come with me? And I did. And unfortunately, the agent didn't take him, but he took me. And in the same breath, he said, I have an audition for you this afternoon. I said, great. What is it? He goes, well, you know, it's this kind of cowboy film, but I think you'd be really great for her. Ended up being Roadhouse.
All of a sudden, we got this call for Kelly to meet Joel Silver on Patrick Swayze's next project. I was completely freaked out as a huge Patrick Swayze fan. And I met with Joel, and he gave me the script. We had this amazing meeting. He said, you know, you're perfect. Your hair is going to be blonde, your eyes are going to be blue, and your skin is going to be tan. And I said, well, my hair is blonde, my eyes are blue, and I'm tan and ish. He said, but more, you know. I said, okay. And he left me with the script. I read the script, and then I called him up and said, I don't understand. I'm a doctor, but I'm wearing mini skirts, and you know, there's a big wheel truck. I don't know what he. So I came back and spoke with him, and he said, look, this is going to be like the best drive-in movie ever made. Okay, you understand the tone. It's not like a normal, this isn't like a serious movie. I don't want you to wink at it, but this is going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be amazing. People are going to love it. And he said, I just want you to trust me. And that's what I did. I went in there, you know, with Sam Elliott and Ben Gazzara and Patrick Swayze, and with, you know, I'm going to trust Joel Silver, who's a big producer, and I was a young actor. It was like my second or third movie. And he was absolutely right. It was super fun, and it lives on.
I came in to read for Jackie Birch, Joel Silver, and Rowdy Harrington. And it was one of those rare, it doesn't really happen much anymore to a character actor where you audition and then you leave the room, and while you're walking down the hall, Jackie came out and she said, you got it, you know, and I was pleased, got the role.
Well, Jackie Birch, the casting director, gave me 2 scenes to learn and be prepared with. So I went in, walked into Joel Silver's office. He was very cordial, welcoming in. Rowdy Harrington was on one side, Jackie Birch was there. We did the first scene, and he said, okay, you're fine. Thank you very much. And I said, oh, is that it? I had another scene. He said, oh, you want to do it? I said, hell no, I'll mess it up. And they all laughed. And they said, okay, thank you for coming. And I left. And before I got out the second door, Jackie came to that door and called me back in. They said I got the part. And Rowdy told me later that little thing I said was what sold it. He died laughing. He thought it was hilarious.
Jackie Birch said, I know who this guy is, bring him in. I came in, I talked to Jackie for a minute, gave her a flower, purple, because she liked purple. And she said, okay, you're set up, here's your sides. You're going to meeting with Joel Silver and Rowdy Harrington. I said, great, no problem. Walked in the door, and Joel looks at me and he says, I know who you are. You got to fight, right? I said, yeah. Okay, you're hired. Be ready to fight. And I said, I'm ready right now.
I
think that, Roadhouse was appealing to me because it was a kind of a low budget film. I was in between two substantial budget studio pictures. And I think the appeal was also working with Rowdy, who was a new director. And I really enjoy working with new directors because, you can really be creatively involved with the look and how the film goes.
So I called him up and said, Dean, I'm going to do this picture, I'm a director now, and you want to come over and talk about it? And he said, absolutely. And he came and we gave him the script and he laughed out loud and he said, let's go. So, I got this brilliant cameraman and the film looks beautiful. I mean, it's shot exquisitely.
It was a low budget film, and yet the challenge was to give it, a high budget look. I mean, every film deserves to have the best look possible. And it was appealing because of the whole style and the locations and the sets and everything that were going to give it a very distinctive look, and the characters were going to give it a distinctive feel.
Dean is helpful in the ways that he knows where to put the camera, and he's got suggestions if you're working with him. I'm sure, like Rowdy, Dean would help. That's where they come in handy. Guys like Dean come in handy with new directors. They know the lenses, they know where to put the camera to make it work. So they help. And Dean was that kind of a guy, very helpful with new directors, and he was a terrific DP.
I enjoy working with new directors, especially those who will sort of trust your collaboration. Every now and then there's a new director who says, oh no, I have to prove myself. A lot of times they're either one extreme or the other. And I enjoy working with directors who are willing to be part of the collaborative process and trust your experience and judgment, because that way I get to be very creatively involved in the film.
He wanted it to look not just right, but good. And that's why he didn't mind looking at you and saying, that really sucked. Thanks a lot, Dean. Dean and Rowdy Harrington both worked as two artists with the same brush. They knew the picture. Rowdy had his notes, Dean had his notes, but both of them worked right out of the noggin. And they were both on the same track all the time. And it was amazing to watch them. I mean, it really was.
One of the things that I really enjoy doing most about it, it's not just about lighting, it's not just about a camera recording actors talking or a car chase. How do you involve the audience with the visuals? How do you tell them something about the mood, the style, what the characters are experiencing? And it was a lot of fun because Roadhouse is very much about the dark, brooding characters, those mysterious moments, those ominous looks, the threat, the beautiful girls. The cinematography had to not only capture that, but enhance it. I think I really enjoyed Patrick's look in this. He gave a lot of potential as far as his rugged face and his scar. It gave a lot of opportunity to sort of create dark, chiseled features and so forth, which and with its great sort of lines made of hair, it was a great character for me to be involved in and to enhance.
He saw everything. He watched everything. He would watch your rehearsal so intently. I mean, he would just stare a hole through you and every move, step you made. And he knew the lighting he was looking for all the time. He knew when shadows were necessary. He knew how to break up and it might be way back there, but he knew it was important for it to be there.
The love scene that takes place in Patrick's loft was fun because it now had to be, rather than sort of ominous and dark as his character was, had to become a romantic, fun kind of thing. So in that case, you look for excuses to change the look, and by adding a warm source of light that was sort of soft and appealing, crisp on him, so he looks regularly handsome, but soft on Kelly was, one of those things that you look for and say, well, how can I now change it up and create a different movie?
You could be right in the middle. I mean, like for instance, the pool stick. 8 cameras, 42 people at the same time. Pool sticks going everywhere, kicking people in every direction with the name. And then you would hear the word cut. You look over, Dean would be right there. He'd be shoulder shooting from the shoulder up and getting his shot, and you never knew he was there.
Well, when I saw the final film, I was really very pleased what we had intended to create really sort of dark, brooding, Western sort of feel to a contemporary story and time period. It really sort of came off, and the characters were all not only well performed, but I think that they fit into the look very much. I very, very carefully would light the characters to create an understanding about their characters, and so I was very pleased when it was all put together that it worked so well, that we cared about the characters and the character arcs and all of the things that happened. So I would have to say that in looking at the final version, I was quite pleased and very proud.
Same town, new story, huh, pal? Let's get a beer.
I know exactly who Brad Wesley is. I've seen his kind many times. He keeps taking and taking until...
Well, Frank cut on an upright moviola. This is old school editing, frame by frame, with trims out of a trim bin, and the screen is about that big on a moviola, and he's standing up with pedals, and he goes like a house on fire, and the man was a genius at putting together film, and he didn't cut a single scene that I didn't like. And I'll tell you, the thing I'm the proudest of was I was able to give a note or two to Frank Uriosty. I said, Frank, why don't we try that? And, first I got the look, and then he tried it, and then he looked over at me and just nodded. And I'll tell you, that made my day, because the man is a genius. I'm not kidding.
And Joel knew he was paying me. He said to me one day, look, I got a movie I got a problem with. That's how Joel would talk. I'd say, you're coming on the movie. I said, no, I'm not coming. A friend of mine was doing it named John Link, who helped me with Die Hard. He said, no, Frank, the movie has a problem. You got to come in on it. I said, well, what's the problem? He said, well, it's 3.5 hours long.
When we put the picture together, we had like a 3-hour rough cut. And that was a function of the script being too long and the expansion of time that these fight scenes took up. They just grew. We had Charlie Pacherny and Benny the Jet Urquidez choreographing the fights, and they did a phenomenal job. And each one of the fights had like a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So they grew, and with 9 major fights, the picture ends up way too long. So when I watched it, you have to be mindful that what are the important elements in this story, and one of the things that's going to get cut is secondary characters.
There was only one thing to do with a movie like that, that's 3.5 hours long, and that is we had to lose a character, and the character that we had to lose was the black bartender.
Subplot was a black guy and his girlfriend come into the bar to hear this band because they're great. And of course you got some of these racist kind of characters, rednecks, that don't like him there, and that starts a fight. And Patrick becomes friends with Keith David, played the black bartender. He's a wonderful actor. And so there's a fight scene, and then Patrick hires him as a bartender. And that whole sequence and some of the stuff between Patrick and Keith ended up being a big chunk of time. And I looked at it and I said, we can cut this and lift it out and we're still on track for the whole movie.
When we did that, what happened is we didn't have any way to do transition from one scene to another. So I decided, and I thought it would work, and I actually collaborated with Joel. I tell him what I think, and then he'd say yes, and so we'll try it. So we used the band, the music, to go in and out of scenes, if you notice. And that's how we used, that's what I used for transition. And I just went in and recut the film.
So much about Patrick has been talked about Patrick as this romantic leading man. And he's like, wait a second, I'm a bit of a badass too, you know? And I think that's one of the reasons why he loved getting the opportunity to do Roadhouse. For a man that has so many talents, he was a gymnast, a dancer, he had done martial arts. I mean, what guy with those kind of talents, for any guy, I think, would want to do a movie like Roadhouse given the opportunity? And he just couldn't believe his good fortune, because that was going to be a dream come true for him to be able to do that kind of movie.
Patrick Swayze came to the movie very prepared, you know, and everything that he'd ever done led him to this. I mean, he was a martial artist. He read the script, he was attracted to that character. You know, he wanted to show the world what he could do. You know, he was proud of that skill. And, you know, he knew he had the dramatic chops. You know, he was made to do that picture.
No, Patrick Swayze was a sweetheart of a guy. Good actor. I mean, really, people believed everything he did, and he was perfect for the part.
Doing the movie, I've never, again, had worked with every great actor around my age group. This, you know, any actors could have been so lucky to work with. Never have fans been more crazed to be near someone or to meet someone. We literally had so much security around Patrick Swayze, and the girls were, I mean, this was the movie after Dirty Dancing, so it was unbelievable.
This picture was being made with Patrick Swayze coming off Dirty Dancing. And I mean, girls were lined up to see that picture by the millions. We were shooting in Fresno, and the executive producer, Tim Moore, and I were outside Patrick's motorhome waiting for him. It was parked right on the street in downtown Fresno. And Patrick came out, and he was mobbed by these girls. I mean, Tim and I had to beat him off. And Patrick was freaked out. You know, I mean, he had gone from, you know, a working actor to a movie star overnight. And fame is a serious business.
Patrick Swayze is like a legend. Even, I mean, coming into it, he had done, you know, Dirty Dancing and all that kind of stuff. So he was really busy, but he was very generous and asked me into his trailer and wanted to play music that he'd recorded, and it was really cool. And he was kind of excited to I got a new song and listen to my song. So that was nice.
Patrick was always on time, always knew his lines, was, you know, right on, spot on. It wasn't a lot of, you know, direction that he had to take. He knew exactly where he was going with it.
Such a great guy to work with. And I did 2 other movies after that. He called me on a movie called Fatherhood, and then naturally Ghost. Fatherhood is more action. Ghost was kind of a little more dramatic show, but he was a terrific guy. He knew what I could do. He knew I could help him, and he was just great.
Prepare to die. You were such an asshole.
The first 2 weeks I was there, but Patrick and I didn't utter more than maybe 5 words to each other all the time. Reason being, he had been told that the character who's going to be playing Jimmy thought he was a wimp and a ballet dancer, and what was he going to fight me with?
When they met, Patrick Swayze and Marshall Teague, Marshall's playing Brad Wesley's Patrick is his number one boy, the toughest guy. And Patrick, you know, just as a method actor, those guys weren't getting along. They, you know, Patrick would stare at him, and they weren't friends at all.
So we didn't have a relationship where every morning it was, hey, how you doing? Great to see you. Hey, the scene's coming up. Trick. Nothing. We would walk by each other. Sometimes we wouldn't even look at each other.
You know, I watched in the beginning, and it took me a little while to realize, oh, you know, Patrick is in character here. These guys, and Marshall just would stare him down, you know.
You know, I didn't know that the stunt coordinator, Charlie Pacherny, and the fight coordinator, Benny DeJet Urquidez, had been baiting this the whole time. And they did, and they would come over to me and say, okay, Marshall, you're probably going to have to irritate him a little bit, get him into it, because he doesn't seem like he's quite ready. And I said, no problem, I'll piss him off.
And they had to learn this fight together. And by the time they were done with that fight, they were brothers. And it was wonderful to see. Because at that point, you know, Patrick had great respect for Marshall. Not only did Marshall do a great job in the movie dramatically, but, you know, he helped teach Patrick that fight because he had more time to learn it, and they bonded. You know, in the end, you see him shaking hands and hugging after the thing was over. And, you know, great respect between them. So that was a great moment.
I guess there's something about two guys fighting together because he and Marshall bonded like this. And they came away with such mutual respect and love for each other. And because there had to be so much trust. And always remained friends. Or always had that bond, never went away.
After that particular fight was over, we knew where we were coming from. And wow, I ended up with one of the best friends I ever had in my life.
You got a skinny little runt named Dalton working here.
Sam Elliott, by the way, unbelievable guy. He's one of the good guys. Sam is one of the good guys in this business. And Sam, I underestimated him because when I put him in the fight scenes, again, because he's such a good actor, he knew how to sell it. He may not have been a fighter, but he came across. I just gave him a couple of different routines, and when I saw it on film, he looked fantastic because it's Sam Elliott. You know?
He was a lot of fun to work with because he was very, very much the character that he portrayed. Very laid back, very confident, very stoic.
I remember a line he had where he kicks a guy in the knee and goes, hurt, don't it? And stuff like that. I mean, people love that stuff. And it's corny, but it really worked.
Damn, that hurts, doesn't it?
And he comes in the movie like almost 3/4 maybe through, but it was it's just something to up the film a little bit. It gives it a little bump and a little different, and it made it really great. And because you really liked him.
Sam Elliott's the coolest. I mean, Sam Elliott's so cool, and in the movie he was, and in real life he was. I wish that I had more scenes with him.
Coolest fucking guy on the planet.
A double douche.
Because he just has so much heart. He's like the one that everybody loves. There's just, nobody can say anything but how fabulous he is. And hanging out on the Grips truck with him, just really fond memories of just listening to him talk about how much he loved film and how passionate he was about it. And it inspired me a lot because he didn't take it too seriously, but seriously enough to make it great.
All right, working with Sam Elliott was, I mean, this much less amazing than Patrick, because if I would pick out like two of the guys I would have the biggest crush on in the world, it might be Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott. And doing the two-step with Sam Elliott will continue to be like another up there with the lovemaking with Patrick Swayze. And worked with the teacher, and I don't know if he or I were pretending not to get it because we just wanted to keep dancing together, but it was so sweet. So we worked on it really hard for this few, seconds really of dancing. And again, he was one of the most gentle, but macho and cool, but sweet, and exactly who you think the character is. That's who also Sam is, this good guy.
You know, I didn't know what to think of Sam at first because I'm kind of private. I like to sit with a book and kind of just, channel myself and be in the right mood. And on occasion, he would come over and then start massaging my back, and I never knew the guy. And he was very, not only hands-on, but just a man with a lot of love, it was a pleasure to meet with him, and he was always on time, and in fact, he was early. I enjoyed working with the crew, and the crew all liked him, and he's an addition to any set. It was just a pleasure working with him.
Sam is a very unique character. It's always every morning, it's how you doing, amigo? It's got a $2 million voice. It's always the same. I mean, Sam is Sam. And you looked up when he hugged your neck, he'd always get you around the neck, he'd hug you, and he'd look at you and everything else like that. But he has that little sly, impish grin at his that he would do. He's just a great guy.
See you. See you. Who's that guy? Gentlemen? Wade Garrett. Exactly right.
Do you ever win a fight?
Nobody ever wins a fight.
It's funny, as far as, doing something with a character of Doc, making her a strong female lead in and basically a movie I like to think of as Dirty Dancing for dudes. We had the girls had Dirty Dancing, and then the guys have Roadhouse, right? But I wanted to create a character that was intelligent and kind and interesting and, nobody's fool, but hot enough that she could compete with all the beautiful, Julie Michaels and all the beautiful girls that were in that movie. I had to hold my own with those, amazing women. And so that's what I kept trying to do, create somebody that I could live with. And it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, the idea that this person is a doctor and she falls in love with this guy and this is the world, and she had been sort of the relationship with Brad Wesley in the past is a little fuzzy. I kept going, oh, were we married, or how do Brad Wesley and Doc, what was their relationship exactly? And everybody kind of kept it fuzzy. Well, you were together in some way, or you were his girl, or, so, that was something I had to always deal with. But I just try to make Doc somebody that women would like as well as somebody that guys would, like as well. You live some kind of life, Dalton.
Too ugly for you.
I didn't say that.
I just remember Kelly she was a great gal. Actually, I was involved with getting her cast because at that time they were giving Patrick a lot of power, and because all of a sudden he was the star, and they were saying, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? Who do you want in this part? Who do you want in that? And of course, being as close as Patrick and I were, he turned to me and says, what do you think, Lisa? So I thought Kelly was a wonderful choice. She's beautiful. She's hot. She got the doctor thing. And one thing I love about Kelly, when I first saw the movie, I'm like, there's so few people that could do the little things as well as she does. There's just her saying good night, or, you know what, I've got to get up in the morning. Those moments are actually kind of hard to do in acting because they're they're hard to make strong choices about. I'm like, but Kelly is like, boom, she's so strong in that, and all that little stuff. It really is a testament for her particular talents.
Kelly Lynch, wow. Brilliantly smart. I mean, for real, this lady is brilliantly smart. Drop dead gorgeous. I mean, Sam, I don't know where that line Sam said that came from, but when he said, he meant it. Because she was just that way. And is giving, you know, there were no prima donnas in. I mean, she was there. She's there to do her job, and she did it. Every time she was there, you know, and she did her job. But I didn't know, I learned years later that Bill Murray, you know, Saturday Night Live, is a major Roadhouse fan. And he is, one of his best friends is Kelly Lynch's husband. So every time Roadhouse comes on, wherever he is, he calls them to say, hey, your wife's humping Patrick Swayze again. Just thought I'd call you and let you know. And then he'd hang up. And it's kind of like, this goes on and on and on and on.
Bill Murray started calling my husband years ago every time Roadhouse was on, playing somewhere. Okay, so I think you guys pretty much know that Roadhouse is playing somewhere in some country, in some time zone, on some channel, for perpetuity, for all time on this planet, forever and ever, amen. So yes, we will get a call, maybe at 4 in the morning. Bill Murray will be actually, say, in Russia. This actually happened. And my husband picks up the phone, and basically he tries to disguise his voice not very well and says, hey, your wife is doing the dirty with Patrick Swayze right now. I just thought you should know about it. And then he'll hang up. But yeah, it is part of the legend of Roadhouse now.
He's a drifter, you know. See you wind up with something like that. It's a shame.
This has nothing to do with him.
Well, you get him out of here, Elizabeth. Because if you don't, he's going down. And I'm not going to lose a second sleep about it.
Ben Gazzara was one of those actors that was legendary, at least to me. You know, he'd done so many great dramatic characters. To work with him, he elevated that character, the villain, the heavy, with so much style and class was great. You know, and he was very dedicated to the performance, which is commendable in any actor, no matter how small or big. The fact that he wanted to do the best, one of those great satisfactions in working with an actor like him.
Dan was always a bad guy. He was really a bad guy in this, and he pulled it off really well because you don't like him. And like again, these guys were all professionals in those days. They really were. And whether it was over the shoulder or a side angle or whatever take, they did everything the same. It made my life a lot easier. So they're very good. You couldn't ask for a better bad guy.
Ben Gazzara came from a group of actors that I have the most respect for. And after the movie, I still have the same respect for him. He was a great villain. He was always smiling. He was professional. And he still had that magic. And that was a thrill.
I am a huge John Cassavetes fan, so just meeting Ben Gazzara was amazing. You know, I could just ask him everything about doing those movies, how it was. It was, you know, completely spontaneous, and you know, Cassavetes created this world for all of his actors, and Ben just told me every single moment of it, and really, I kind of held himself like, you know, okay, that's enough. You know, he was very like, okay, that's enough. I've given you enough of my time. You know, he was a diva. And he stayed in character a little bit when he worked. He was kind of badass, you know, which sort of made me giggle, but he was a character.
Ben Gazzara is what I call the older Hollywood, you know. It was the days, you know, he made 12 Angry Men, you know, all that. He didn't really refer to people so much by name as he did by their position, because that's what they did at the time. Makeup, hair, check this, like this. I mean, it's not that he didn't know people's names, it's just, that's just the way he was. I watched him for 3 days out on the set. I never introduced myself to him. I just watched him for 3 days, see what he did, how he reacted to things. You know, if he got a little irritated or something like that, I would just watch him. Didn't even let him know that I was there. And on the fourth day, I walked up to him and I says, Mr. Gazzara, my name is Jimmy Reno. You get your chair, we're moving you back over here. You need some water? Somebody, excuse me, give me a glass of water over here for Mr. Gazzara. I said, you have a problem with anybody? You come through me. You don't ask them, you come through me. I'll get it done. And from that point on, he never called me Marshall, not one time. Jimmy, how you doing, Jimmy? And that's just the way we left it. I introduced him as Jimmy. This was how I introduced myself to him, as Jimmy. I never let him do a thing. It didn't matter when he was on the set, I was on the set. So if he needed anything, he'd just go, Jimmy. I'd walk up, yeah, boss.
A very professional actor. He was not, he wanted to mix with the crowd. He was in character and stayed in character, and he was altogether different when the movie was over because I bumped into him, but on the set, he was the bad guy, and that came across even when we weren't filming. But once they said that's a wrap, he completely changed. It's amazing. He was a method actor.
You're gonna be fine. And you know why? Because I like you. Get this piece of shit coward out of here.
After the first fight that Patrick has, he meets Kelly, and he goes to the doctor, and she's stitching him up, and she wants to give him a painkiller or something. He goes, pain don't hurt. Well, I've never, ever, I've said, oh my God, it stuck with my head forever. And that's something I'll always remember about that movie.
I'll give you a local. No, thank you. Do you enjoy pain? Pain don't hurt.
In the script, there's a fight between Pat and Dalton, the first one. And I have a big knife, and in the script it says, come on, what are you, chicken shit? Or, come on, chicken shit. And I thought that was weak. Terry Funk has a way with words. He played Morgan. So I said, Terry, give me something. This is too predictable. He said, how about chicken dick?
Come on, Dalton, you and me right now. Right now! What's the matter, you chicken dick? What are you afraid of? Me?
John Doe went ahead and came up to me and said, Terry, he said, Patrick said to tell me to insult him terribly on the screen. What can I possibly say? And I thought, and then I remembered a bunch of Japanese came over here to Texas to see me. So I took them to a bar. So we went in a bar and there's this cowboy in there, and this Japanese guy went to sit down, and this cowboy said to him, he said, what are you doing here, chicken dick? And the Japanese guy went berserk. He said, oh, chicken dick. Don't call me chicken dick. Nobody call me chicken dick. No chicken dick. You know? And we had to tie him down, and the cowboy would have torn him apart. But it just stuck in my mind And all of a sudden he came to me and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Chicken dick." And it just kind of hit the spot in the right place at the right time.
And I can't tell you how many people have commented about that. Just say chicken dick for me. And it's like, could there be anything smaller? Could there be anything more of a disrespectful? Yeah.
Our fans are just the ultimate fans. They get those lines and they repeat them, or they'll send them out to me, or I'll have a tough day and they'll go right boob, because they want, it's like, it's okay, it's a blade in front of you, but you'll handle it. But I think, I thought you'd be bigger. It's just the catastrophic line in that whole film, because it kind of is just the way life is. People sometimes have a perception of you, and it might not be what they think it is, even though you're able to portray that.
I thought you'd be bigger.
So you played pretty good for a blind white boy.
Yeah, and I thought you'd be bigger.
For that line of work, I thought you'd be bigger.
Gee, I've never heard that before.
With Roadhouse, what's hilarious is how many quotable lines there are. I mean, it just makes me laugh. I can hear, I know it's coming, and I'm laughing before I even hear it. My way or the highway.
It's my way or the highway.
Pain don't hurt.
Pain don't hurt.
What if they say your mama's a whore? Is she?
I wonder if somebody calls my mama a whore.
Is she?
What a great moment. It's like the hits, they just keep coming.
There was the scene between Patrick and Sam Elliott and Kelly Lynch, Doc. I think they put some money in a jukebox, they had a song playing, and I think it was Kelly or somebody said, "Do you want to dance?" But of course Sam wasn't having any of that. He reached out and said, "May I have this dance, my lady?" He gets up and he twirls her around the room, and the song's in. He dips her down like that, her hair falls back, and she's gorgeous, right? They go back to the table and everything else. She excuses herself. Sam does this little, "She's entirely too intelligent to have an ass like that."
That gal's got entirely too many brains to have an ass like that.
But you look around, everybody's going, yeah, she does. And of course, there's the big polar bear falling on Mr. Young, and I had a bear fall on me. I mean, what's not to like? I mean, there were a lot,
Polar bear fell on me.
The place has a sign hanging over the urinal that says, "Don't eat the big white men."
Owning me, sir, is like putting an elevator in an outhouse. Don't belong. Hey, the fuck, guys. Prison.
I heard you had balls big enough to come in a dump truck, but you don't look like much to me.
You're too stupid to have a good time. Does a hobby horse have a wooden dick? Doc, I'll get all sweet by me when I'm dead.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice. You are the bouncers, I am the cooler. All you have to do is watch my back and each other's. Take out the trash.
1, 2, 3.
We had some really talented people, including Joel Silver, who's, a great producer. Patrick Swayze is a great actor. Dean Cundy's a great cameraman. This is one of the reasons I think this picture has lasted, more than the fact that I had anything to do with it. I had great people, and that's another lesson. You want to make a great film, get great people.
Looking back now, it was one of those movies, and probably because it was so much fights, and that's what I'm good at, and that's what I'm good at, doing action, that there was nothing I would do different now. Nothing.
There's something that was very special about Roadhouse, that to this day, people are watching Roadhouse, writing about Roadhouse. We're doing an interview about Roadhouse and the great people that were in it.
There was a feel about this that proved itself over the years. I just knew we had something good. I didn't know it was going to be that good. But I really enjoyed it, and I wish I could do another one.
Really from the beginning, when Patrick and I were out, people would come up and say, oh, Dirty Dancing, Ghost. We would be amazed by how many people said Roadhouse. A lot of people love Roadhouse.
From the second it was released, there were a bunch of different fan categories, you know, fans who just believe this world and these people and love it and love them and, you know, and go with it like a real film. Then there's all the hipsters who just, you know, it's like a cheesy Lebowski-esque Western, you know. They love it too. They adore it, you know, and everything in between. And I get all of those things. I get fans from all of those groups coming up to me and telling me what Roadhouse means to them and why.
Well, Gene Shalit called it Outhouse instead of Roadhouse, but people just kind of fell for it. And it had that kind of hometown spirit and the bad guy and the good guy and the old Western kind of feel to it. And that's what we were hoping for. And I think that's what Joel Silver thought in the very beginning when he first read the script. So I think they hit it out of the ballpark. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it today.
You know, Roadhouse is a real fine example of everything coming together. The props, the wardrobe, the cinematography, the actors, the stunt people, the musicians, the extras. I mean, everyone coming together, enjoying the work that they're doing, everyone, you know, there for everybody else. This film is a real example of, you know, what collaboration is all about. And it was a pleasure for me to work on it, and I think everybody who worked on it enjoyed it. So
Everybody backed everybody, and Rowdy was always first and foremost the center. He was the captain of the ship. There was no question whatsoever. And everybody followed suit. And when you've got that kind of magic going on, it's golden. It's just gold.
I can't tell you the number of people that have said to me, I watched Roadhouse last night. You know, it came on, I couldn't stop watching it. You know, again, it's a tribute to all the people that put it together. You know, I just got to stand in the middle.